Ethan's parents were called into school that morning, but officials say they resisted taking him home and made no mention of any gun. Shortly after they left, their son began his rampage. When news of the shooting got out in the community, Jennifer Crumbley texted her son, writing, "Ethan, don't do it." But it was too late.
The last witness for the day was Special Agent Brandon, and they're listing with him from 31 to like 70 something pieces of evidence. So he was on the stand for half a day. And of course, this is the prosecution's witness. Probably more than an hour was spent talking about these guns that were in the Crumbly home. And they showed them to the jury. They picked them up. They played with them. They talked about the gun safes. So I'm going to try to trim it down as much as I possibly can so that you're not just going, oh, you know, rolling of the eye. It's a little bit too much. We're not going to beat a dead horse here, right? Now, one thing that did occur a lot while this was going on was the objections by the defense attorney and the sparring between, I'm not even going to say the two females. I mean, the male came back a couple times too at her. So it got pretty heated. I have some of that for us to watch. Another thing they went over with this particular witness was the Facebook messages between Jennifer and James Crumbley. They also talked about some postings that were done on Instagram, and they did confirm that Jennifer follows Ethan on Instagram, where he was posting pictures of his gun. And we're going to watch some footage of both the father and the mother taking Ethan to the gun range and shooting. So let's get to it.
What is the weapon you normally see if on a multiple victim shooting?
Your Honor, I object to the relevance of this. This case is about the Sig Sauer being the weapon. We don't dispute that. We all know that.
Response. My response is that weapon is more dangerous.
Your
it
Honor,
causes more damage.
I object to this record. I object to making this record in front of the jury. Ms. McDonald is using this opportunity to tell the jury information that I'm objecting to, and I'm asking if we can approach.
Okay.
Do you want us on the hall?
Actually, the hall.
Going to show in our case the reason why that weapon, the 9mm, was purchased and why it's significantly different. That is, and it's absolutely relevant. It has to do with
other evidence that will show why that.
Yes, including statements of the shooter.
Your Honor, I think that's extremely.
Well, there are some statements that are coming into the trial, right?
There are, Your Honor, but there is no way the prosecutor can prove this weapon was bought to kill people, specifically by James Crumbley or Jennifer Crumbley. And this case is about Jennifer Crumbley. It's not about Ethan. It's not about James.
Okay, so part of it is about what they knew, though, right? Part of it is about what the parents knew.
Part of it is about what the parents knew, but there is no evidence to lay a foundation that my client knows anything about the deadly capability of these guns. Nothing. She has no. There's no foundation.
It sounds like an argument she's going to make in defense and in her defense, and she has a right to. I just want to be able to have my witness testify about what kind of weapon this is and what the reason you have a 9mm versus a 22.
Well, I guess another question is that you can shoot more bullets out of that quicker. Is that what you want to know?
That and the type of damage those bullets can do.
I know a lot about guns. Right?
I thank you. Okay. I'm not sure every member of the jury does. So I'm trying to explain it to people who are not familiar with firearms.
Okay, well, yeah, no, I understand that. Part of what you're saying might be argument, but it's a fact question that the SIG can eject more rounds quicker. You can shoot rounds quicker from the SIG.
I don't know. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
So if you just give me a couple questions.
Okay.
All right, thank you. What is the difference between the SIG and a 22?
It's the size of the round is the main difference. And
okay, the size of the actual bullet, for lack of another.
Yeah,
I know
correct.
you say round. Okay.
Yes.
And why does the size matter?
The size matters because the larger the bullet, the bigger the hole.
Okay, more damage, whatever it is you're shooting.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So there was an administrative office inside the high school that had the computer system with this, the surveillance video playing on a large monitor. I was in that room reviewing the footage as it played.
At some point, did you actually go to the home?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Lieutenant Marsban had obtained the search warrant at that time, and I responded to assist with the search warrant.
And when you arrived, who else was there, if anyone?
Multiple detectives from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office and also Lieutenant Marsban.
Did you actively take place, search the home, or were you just present?
I actively assisted in the search.
Okay. Did you recover anything in the house related to these weapons or relating a case, anything? What did you find? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I was present for the recovery of evidence, and I also observed 2 targets on the wall in what would be the, I guess you'd call it the shooter's childhood bedroom, which shares a wall with his parents' bedroom.
Before we get to that, did you recover these 2 handguns in the house?
I was not the one who recovered them, but I was present when everything was there.
Okay.
Yes.
Were any other cases or boxes or anything related to the firearms recovered?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's 35. Can you tell the jury what that is?
Yes, this is the pistol case that came with the Kel-Tec pistol. It'd be the middle firearm on the table over there.
So this.
Yes.
And you previously testified and through the other witness, this was purchased June 21st.
It'd be June 17th.
Oh, I'm sorry, June 17th.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And does that case have a locking mechanism?
It's not locked now. There are 2 holes in it, like most standard pistol cases, where if you needed to lock it, you could slide standard locks through each one of these holes.
Let's see this. So these holes right here. Okay. Do you know where that case was found?
Yes, it was in the kitchen, I believe, underneath the islander in a cabinet.
Okay. Is this how it was discovered? Was this cable lock in the Kel-Tec case when this was found?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to hand you the cable lock. And can you tell the jury exactly what that is?
Yes, so cable lock is used as a mechanism to make a firearm inoperable, and it's something you have to defeat to operate the firearm.
What do you mean defeat?
So you have to find the key, unlock it, or take it off in some other way to load and discharge the firearm.
Okay. When you examined that for this first time, what, if anything, did you notice about it?
I noticed there wasn't much wear and tear. The packaging didn't have many markings on it, as if the cable lock had been taken in and out. It's very wide, so taken out many times, there'd be more markings on the sides of this cable lock. It looks almost new.
Does it look like it's ever been disturbed?
No.
How many keys go with the cable lock?
Generally, you receive 2 keys on the same key ring for 1 cable lock.
Okay, are there 2 keys in there?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else about this?
No.
All right. Have you ever opened this up?
No.
And as far as you know, no one's actually disturbed this?
Not to my knowledge. No.
Okay, so this is in the same condition as it was when it was found in the Kel-Tec case, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, all right. I'm handing you what's been admitted as People's 36. And what is that, Special Agent?
This is a black safe with a combination on the front. It was found in the Crumbley parents' bedroom on the shelf in the TV stand or dresser where they kept their TV.
Okay, how many numbers is the combination?
It's 3.
All right, and what is it set at?
0, 0, 0.
All right, what's significant about 0, 0, 0?
That is generally the factory default for a lot of safes.
Okay, So even though to some people who aren't familiar with firearms, this might look like a box, this is actually what you refer to as a gun safe, correct?
Yes,
You call this a safe.
I would call that a safe, yes.
Okay. What, if anything, was found inside this safe?
Both the Derringer and the Keltec pistol were located inside that safe.
All right. I'm handing you what's been admitted as People's 31. What is that?
This is the pistol case for the Sig Sauer 9mm pistol used in the school shooting.
Okay. So in other words, that is the case that this SIG was sold in.
Yes,
Okay. And do you know where that was found and where was it recovered, if you know?
it was located on the bed in the Jennifer and James Crumbley's bedroom next to an empty box of Patriot Defense ammunition.
Okay. And does that have a locking mechanism?
It doesn't have one inserted, but as the other pistol case, there are 2 holes in the pistol box that you could place a locking mechanism through to secure the case.
Okay. And
Your Honor, I would just object as to foundation for where the gun case was found, because this special agent came in after other law enforcement had pulled that case out, opened it, and put it on the bed. And so it's very misleading for this jury to hear that this gun case is just laying on a bed. And so I would just ask that there be foundation laid about how he.
Okay, I understand. So,
could you respond?
yeah,
Okay.
Judge, he was on scene at the search warrant scene.
he was on the search warrant scene, but what she's saying is he initially the one that found that case and was it found on the bed? Can you clarify?
It was found on the bed, but I think at least 2 times Ms. Smith said she didn't object to foundation on her exhibit, in which case it sounds like she does, because that's a foundational question. And
That's not true. I object to the question. I don't object to the exhibit. I object to the foundation about the testimony of that being found on the bed, making it sound like these parents left it out on the bed.
we're happy to have we have
When you,
Officer Stoic to
when you saw the gun case, it was on the bed?
No.
No.
Not when I was in the search warrant house. No, when I was in the house for the search warrant, I did not observe it on the bed. No, at that point, it had been moved off the bed.
Okay.
we're happy to bring that in through another officer. No problem. Okay.
Can we get clarification then on where he saw this gun case? I can ask on cross. I'm sorry. Never mind.
When's the first time that you had a chance to examine that, Special Agent?
I believe it was on the, with the other evidence, either on the kitchen counter or on the dining room table inside the Crumbley house. Once I arrived on scene. Title of the pamphlet speaks for itself. It's a Youth Handgun Safety Act notice. It's putting you on notice that not safely storing your firearms will contribute to juvenile violence.
You've had an opportunity to examine all of the evidence in this case, probably the digital evidence, the evidence from the phones, the physical evidence, the narratives, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you notice when the SIG was photographed by the shooter and then a couple of the other images taken? Was the pamphlet with it?
In some photos it was, in others it was not.
Okay. And up until recently, what did you think happened to the pamphlet that was sold with the SIG?
Your Honor, I would object to this speculation.
Isn't it speculation?
I'm getting it. I would just ask for a little leeway.
Okay,
It's
why
part
is
of his investigation.
Why isn't it speculation? What do you think's happened to the?
Did you know what happened to it?
No.
Okay. And then recently, did you discover what happened to it?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury how?
Preparing for trial, I opened up the Sig Sauer pistol case.
This right here?
No, that would be
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
this one
Okay.
here.
This was in the last week?
Yes.
Okay.
And I noticed that there was a piece of paper underneath the foam. So I lifted up the foam and found a receipt from what we're referring to as the gun store in Oxford for the firearm, as well as the ATF Youth Handgun Safety Act notice.
So it was under the foam in the case that the SIG was stored in?
Yes.
When they left the gun store?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Special Agent, what are the requirements once you've been cleared to purchase and you do purchase a gun in Michigan, once it's cleared and checked and you're allowed to purchase it?
So
You
as a
just
part,
take it home and it's yours and that's it?
No. So as a part of this investigation and others, I am aware that when you purchase a firearm in Michigan and are given a pistol sales record by the federal firearms licensee, you do have 10 days to take that to basically local or county law enforcement.
Okay, were you able, or are you able to ever determine whether or not that was done for any weapon? How do you do that?
So there's a law enforcement database.
Robert, I would just object. May we please approach?
Okay.
If you know, were you able to determine how many rounds were fired?
32.
Okay. And watching the surveillance from an investigative standpoint, was anything interesting or caused you to take other steps?
Yes, there were three main things that caught my attention during the video, specifically during the shooting.
There were three things?
There were three things, yes.
Okay, can you list them for the jury?
Yes, so first, as the shooting began, the shooter was using only one arm for a majority of the first part of the shooting. And then as he moved down the hallway and Tate comes into view of the screen, he takes a two-handed shooting grip, takes I would call a shooter stance, feet wide, his shoulders roll forward, and he takes aim with using the sights and fires one round.
When you say using the sights, what do you mean?
Meaning that there's a mechanism on the firearm that allows you to take aim. If I can.
Okay, I'm handing you the SIG, which is the murder weapon. Can you show the jury? You're might have to stand up.
Yeah. So here you see how there's two white dots back here. I'm sorry for this is a safe firearm. The two dots back here are considered the rear sight. See that over there? And if you line up the front sight with the rear sight, that is how you aim a firearm. In the video, I noted that Ethan did that on the shooter did that on the first shot, as well as the second shot he took at Tate.
Okay, Special Agent, we have not shown that surveillance video at this point. So I'm going to try to provide some context. And what did you, when you were watching this, and you mentioned the stance and lining up the sights, was the shooter rushing? Was the shooter going at a fast pace? Can you describe what you saw?
Yes, during that specific portion, he came to a dead stop and took aim. And then as he moved forward, he walked 2 or 3 steps forward and then took aim again and discharged the firearm.
And what seemed remarkable about that to you?
When I first saw it, I immediately said to others in the room that I thought that the shooter had been to a shooting range or had training in firearms. It was the stance, the way he rolled the shoulders forward, and then the way as he walked up to take the second shot that he re-established a stable shooting platform to take the second shot.
And I should back up. What is a magazine?
So a magazine is the part of the firearm that contains ammunition that's loaded in the magazine well of the firearm. So this is a SIG Sauer pistol magazine. It's a 15-round magazine. This would be inserted into the magazine well when it's loaded with ammunition. You would then send the slide forward, chambering around, and at that point, the firearm's ready to be discharged.
Okay. And you said 32 rounds were fired?
Yes, there were 32 fired cartridge casings or shell casings that were recovered from the school, yes.
And there were how many in a magazine?
The SIG Sauer magazine is a 15-round magazine, and you can also fit an additional round in the chamber for a total of 16 rounds.
Okay. Did you ever observe on the video the shooter reloading?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yes, so I believe it was the first time the shooter reloaded. The magazine was empty, and he loaded a new magazine into the firearm. At another point, this was the second thing that I thought was notable in the surveillance video. He conducted what at ATF we're trained as a tactical magazine exchange. I know other agencies call it a combat reload, but basically he was not out of ammunition in the firearm yet, but he knew that, I can't testify to what he knew, but.
Why are you trained to do a combat reload?
To make sure that you always have more rounds in your magazine so that that you have sufficient ammunition. So if you have half of a magazine, you would eject it, not throw it on the ground, you would put it in your pocket in case you need it, and then you load a full magazine, so now you're back to full capacity.
And what were you trained would be the purpose for that? When would you have cause to do that?
So for us, we're trained if we're involved in a shooting. If you do that, that way you have a fully loaded magazine in case you need to re-engage a threat. Obviously, the circumstances here were obviously different.
Okay. That was the first thing. There were two other things.
So so the first was his shooting stance. The second was the tactical magazine exchange. The third thing was after the shooter exited the bathroom where he gave himself up. Eventually, he ejected the magazine out of the firearm and placed it on top of a trash receptacle, which I found odd at the time, because if you were just doing a school shooting, it seemed odd to take the magazine and make a firearm safe.
So he walked out of the bathroom, and the evidence showed that is where Justin Schilling was killed. He walked out of the bathroom, and you say he took the magazine out, and you're saying that is making the firearm safe.
Yes, I don't believe he ejected around from the chamber. I don't recall right now. I don't believe he did. But yes, he separated the magazine from the firearm as if you were at a shooting range and taking the magazine out and setting it on like your shooting
stationary
platform.
trash can.
Yes.
Okay. And what did he do after that?
At that point, he got on the ground and was shortly thereafter taken into custody by sheriff's deputies.
Okay. And when he was he standing? Was he laying down? Was he sitting?
No,
kneeling?
he got into he was kneeling and then got into the prone position with his hands up.
Okay.
So the following day, after knowing that ranges would be open in the morning, also additional information came in during the investigation that there was possibility that the family had been to a firearms range recently. I began looking for evidence of James, Jennifer, or Ethan Crumbley at shooting ranges in the area. No, I began calling. The first one I called was the most popular range probably in this area. And upon calling, they confirmed that they did have information and asked that I come in and verify my identity.
Okay. And how far away was that from the Crumbley home?
Not too far. It was in Clarkston, Michigan, so a couple towns over.
Okay.
So the range provided multiple receipts from showing that James and Ethan and Jennifer Crumbley had been at the range in the past, as well as surveillance video documenting range visits on September 25th and on November 27th. I believe that's 3 days prior to the shooting.
Okay. Especially what is on the screen?
These are Facebook messages between James and Jennifer Crumbley.
And how were these retrieved?
Through a search warrant served on Facebook.
Okay. You also, in the investigation, reviewed downloading from the actual phones, correct?
Yes.
All right. Were these messages still on Jennifer Crumbley's phone?
I know they were on James's phone. I don't recall if they were on Jennifer's phone.
Okay. Can you,
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I stipulated, but my copy does not have these stars on it, and they have eliminated some of the messages on this exhibit.
That's why the stars are.
yeah,
Right, so I have.
we're happy to provide all of the messages. We were just to be concise regarding these messages are offered to show Jennifer Crumbley's knowledge that they were at the store and the range, but I was just trying to be concise. But we're happy to give it all to the jury.
For the interest of completion, Smith, I'll admit any portions of those that you would like.
Yeah, Your Honor, I would ask for the whole, they gave me the
You have it all.
entire exhibit.
You have it all.
Okay, I have it all, but what you're putting up here is not it all. So,
We're happy to provide all of it. We're just going to talk about these two, and she can, and we'll provide every single thing possible to the jury. I'm just trying to not go through all of the messages that weren't pertinent to the shooting.
we're just taking slivers out. This is the problem. This is,
The whole exhibit's going to come in, but that's
Okay.
the reason that the stars are there, to show that it's not a complete chain, that
Okay.
there's something in the middle. But I will admit an entire text chain, and you are also happy to present to the jury the entire text chain.
okay, thank you, Judge.
And Your Honor, there's no evidentiary requirement that we have to publish every text message in a 2,000 page string if we want to pull out. I'm not trying to misrepresent.
There isn't.
Okay.
But I'm just saying that if Ms. Smith would like those in, I would be happy to admit them for the purposes of completion.
We want it all in, so we're happy, we'll stipulate to it. This was only taken out not to deceive as much as to try to make, these are the ones about the gun range, but there's a lot of content about things like, you know, purchases and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so can you read those to the jury, Special Agent?
Yes, so this is dated June 15th, 2021. So JC Crumbley is Jennifer Crumbley's Facebook account, that's in blue, and it says talk at 12 o'clock question mark. And then James Crumbley, who's in green, responds, taking Ethan to store at 12. Jennifer responds, you get gun.
So that the last one was 11:34. That's minus UTC -4. Is that 11:34 a.m.?
This has been adjusted to Eastern Standard Time.
So it's really 11:34.
Yes.
Okay. And there's time passes, and now we're at 1:17. And what does Jennifer reply?
Jennifer asks, you get gun.
Okay, and the next slide.
James responds, yes, and it says Mo, but I believe it's supposed to be no. Jennifer questions that, says, huh? And then James says, we paid for the gun and bought it, can't pick it up till everything clears Washington, in parentheses, FBI. Could be today, tomorrow, or next day. They don't know. Jennifer responds, gotcha. Bring me those fruit punch things when you come to bring hay.
Okay.
Yes, so Jennifer sends a message that asks, how much is your gun? James replies, 300.
Facebook messages between James and Jennifer on June 20th, 2021. Can you read those? That's Exhibit 42.
Yes, again, so Jennifer is in blue. It says, can you guys answer your phone? And James responds, no, at gun range, loud. Yes, so there's, on James Crumbley's cell phone, there was a video on the 20th of June at 12:58 p.m. that shows the shooter shooting the Kel-Tec pistol. And then after that, a couple minutes later, there's a video of the defendant's son shooting the Derringer pistol.
So the first video, the shooter's, can you tell which firearm he's using?
Yeah, so the first video, the shooter's shooting the Kel-Tec pistol.
This right here.
Yes. And
Okay. This was the one for $300.
yes.
Okay. And then the second one was the Derringer?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, this is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley, sending the video of, it appears to be the second video of the shooter shooting the Derringer.
Is this a Facebook post?
No, this is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley.
Okay. What are we watching, Special Agent?
This is the video that James had sent to Jennifer via Facebook that she then posted, I believe, as an Instagram story that said, Ethan and James Crumbley both got handguns this week, testing them out at the range. This is a Facebook message of, I believe, the shooter shooting at the range in Clarkston, sent from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley via Facebook Messenger.
Okay. What am I looking at right there?
This is the shooter at the gun range in Clarkston, shooting the Kel-Tec pistol with the Derringer visible on the shooting platform.
Okay. And do you know what Jennifer did with that? Where was that posted?
It was posted to an Instagram story on June 26th.
It's 75. What were we just watching?
This is a video taken on James Crumbley's cell phone of Jennifer Crumbley shooting at the Clarkston range, the Kel-Tec pistol.
Okay. This one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Directing your attention to August 19th, 2021, Exhibit 50 and 51. Can you tell me what this is?
Yes, this is a video sent by the shooter to another individual.
All right, and this was already admitted. What are we watching?
This is the shooter holding the Kel-Tec pistol.
This?
Yes.
Okay.
And then he sends the slide forward. There's no magazine or chamber or no round in the firearm.
Okay, was there any text messages about it or just the image?
There were also texts.
Okay. In that image, are you able to observe?
It appears to be a couch.
Okay.
Do you know what time that was sent?
I don't recall the exact time. I'd have to look at the text message. I believe it was later in the evening. I believe this is the next video. It was 9:31 p.m.
Okay. Were you able to find another image that showed that the shooter had access to the Caltech?
Yes. So on that same date, he sent another video to the same friend at 12:30 a.m. With the Caltech.
And this is 52 and 53. All right, Special Agent, you said this was sent at what time?
I believe it was 12:30 a.m.
And on that same day, which was August 19th.
Yeah, I believe it would be now the 20th.
Okay,
of
I'm sorry, the
August, yeah.
20th, because it was after 12. And what do you see in the background that, can you tell the jury what you observed in the background of this photo?
Yes. So
This video, I'm sorry.
this video is taken on the dining room table in the Crumbley residence. Familiar with, after being inside and also reviewing photographs taken at the house during this investigation, that the wood grain matches on that table to the kitchen table in their dining room. In the video, the shooter loads a loaded firearm magazine into the firearm and then chambers around into the firearm.
Is this a concern to you?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury why?
Well, as that ATF safety pamphlet states, the access to firearm by juveniles.
Your Honor, I would object because access to firearms by juveniles may be against the ATF pamphlet, but there's no evidence that there's not an adult there or anything happening.
Was there any message accompanying this video to his friend?
Yes.
What was the message?
My dad left it out, so I thought, why not? LOL.
And that is,
Your Honor, also, we've already had extensive arguments about, I am objecting to all hearsay texts between the shooter and his friend that my client and Mr. Crumbley have never seen, and this is one of them.
Your Honor, you've ruled on this several times, and
I vote on this one.
No.
these are the text messages between the shooter and the other individual. You previously ruled that it's in there.
I don't recall this one specifically. Was this among someone?
Okay, I'm happy to make it, I believe that you have, but if not, I am happy to make the argument. This is, even if you haven't ruled on it, it's under the exception of a present sense impression. He's picking up a firearm and in that moment, videoing himself, holding it, and then saying, my dad left it out, so I thought, why not?
Well, it's in keeping with 803 1 and yeah, it's consistent with 803 1, isn't it?
All right, Special Agent, this is People's Exhibit 54. Can you tell the jury what this is?
This is the Google location information for James Crumbley. And it's dated August 19th, 9/29. It's around the time of the first video of the last two that we've seen. And it shows that he's at the Crumbley residence on East Street.
Okay, and the time on that?
It was 9:29 p.m.
Okay, and that's the video of where the couch was in the background.
Correct.
Okay,
This is the Google location information for Jennifer. It also shows that that East Street address, the Crumbley family residence.
okay. So in other words, both Jennifer and James were home during the photo with when he was holding the Caltech and there was the couch in the background.
Yes.
Okay. And then 56. This is August 20th. So it's the 12:32 where the video was taken and the text, my dad left it out.
Yes.
Okay. And this shows what?
This shows that James Crumbley, the Gmail account associated with James Crumbley was at the East Street family residence, Crumbley family residence.
Okay.
This is the same thing. It's Google location information for Jennifer's account, and it shows that she was at the Crumbley family residence at 12:21 a.m. that day as well, during the time, around the time of the video.
Okay. Thank you. September 1st, 2021. This is a message between who?
This is a message between James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley on Facebook.
Okay. And the time is 4:56 p.m.
Yes.
And what does the message say?
Ethan and I are headed to gun range.
Okay. Okay, and I want to, that's People's 61, and then I want to draw your attention to September 25th. Did either defendant go to a shooting, did this defendant go to a shooting range in Clarkston?
On September 25th, I believe, I don't recall for sure. I believe it was just James and Ethan that went.
So it wasn't this defendant?
No.
Okay. Were you able to determine whether or not she was aware they were at the range?
Yes.
And how do you know that?
I believe it was the same thing through Facebook messages. This was range fee, ammunition for 9mm, a rental of a 9mm pistol, as well as 22 caliber ammunition and targets.
In all of the videos you were able to obtain and observe, is this the first range video using a 9mm?
This is the first that I could find. Yes.
That we know of?
Yes.
Okay, all right. What are we looking at, Special Agent?
So that's James Crumbley in the white sweatshirt and gray baseball hat, and then the shooter is behind him wearing a light gray sweatshirt, dark pants, Nike shoes, and a black hat.
Special Agent, we see 2 firearms there, correct?
Correct.
Okay, what, if you can tell what kind of handgun it's yours?
So I believe the handgun that the shooter is picking up now is the Keltec. And then the other one was one that they appeared to rent, or if they were looking to purchase a firearm, sometimes that the range will let you test it out before you purchase it.
So the one to the right of the shooter, what is that, if you know?
I can't say for certain. The footage is a little grainy.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what he's doing right now, if you know?
I believe he's having trouble with the firearm discharging. He appears to be having some type of malfunction that he's not able to clear on his own.
Okay, and I want to draw your attention then to exhibit October 3rd of 2021, exhibit 64. What is this?
This is a Facebook message from James Crumbley to Jennifer Crumbley at 12:01 p.m. that says, "Cool, just got cleaning our guns, leaving for range in a few."
Okay, that's 64, and then
Wait, I'm sorry.
that's 64, and then
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your Honor, can we just slow down for 1 second? Because the exhibits I was given have more content. I just need to,
I will go as slow as you'd like.
Okay, this
We-
is.
we-
okay, I thank you.
We separated them to make it easier to read one message at a time.
I understand, but this is different than what you provided me, and I just need to make sure I'm keeping up. So thank you.
I'm happy to go at any pace you'd like.
Thank you.
Judge.
Okay, so this is exhibit 64.
Thank you, and I'm caught up.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's all right.
All right.
It's a lot of information.
That's a lot of information.
65. What is that, Special Agent?
That's a receipt for the gun range in Clarkston dated October 3rd, 2021 for range time, targets, and 22 caliber ammunition.
Let's go to November 26th. What day was November 26th? What's significant about that day?
That was the date that James Crumbley purchased the 6-hour SP 2022 pistol for the shooter.
Okay, and that was the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay. This has been previously admitted. This is the receipt for the SIG, correct?
Yes.
People's 28. And that was paid in cash, and the amount is $519.35. I don't mean to lead, I'm just trying to do this to make it. On the 26th, when this occurred, not sure if it was admitted, but it was shown in the opening. I believe there's no objection to it.
Yeah,
What-
it's admitted.
Okay.
66.
Again, for the jury, this is the SIG, correct?
Yes, what's depicted in that picture is the 6-hour pistol, yes.
Okay. This is not Jennifer's post. This is the shooter's post. This is a different post. This wasn't the one at the opening. I apologize if I'm confusing anybody. It's just a lot. And what does this say?
So this is an Instagram post by a shooter that says, just got my new beauty today, 6-hour 9mm. Ask any questions, I will answer.
Special Agent, were you able to determine based on the forensic evidence of the phones whether or not Jennifer Crumbley followed the shooter's Instagram account?
Yes, she did.
Okay, so this account where he posted, she followed it. We can't say she saw it, but we know she followed it.
Correct, yes.
Okay, and that is a picture of the SIG?
Yeah, so the first picture was the 6-hour in the pistol box. And then the second picture is the shooter holding the firearm. It appears to be inside the Crumbley family residence based on the floor. And then there's the shooter again holding the firearm with the sights aimed in. As you can see, that the 3 dots are aligned.
It's number 71. I don't want to make you nervous. I want to tell you that we really appreciate your note. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. All right, that's why we have alternates in case something comes up. So really my only question for you is whether or not the fact that you might have met this person, the safety agent, mentioned by Brandon, you knew him in 2005 or 2006.
Yeah, actually, what I know, it's the same individual. He was working with Detroit Police Department.
Okay.
At the Internet 6th or 8th precinct.
Okay, so did you ever have a beer together?
No.
Okay, and is there anything about the fact that his name was mentioned that would make you have difficulty being fair and impartial in this case?
No.
Okay, we appreciate your note. I know that this is, yeah, so.
I want to make sure.
Okay, I appreciate that. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't, and we have no objection to him remaining.
Okay.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your note. You can be seated if you want. We're gonna bring your friends in, so.
Is there anything about this image that you want to remark on in terms of what you see and what you don't see?
Yeah, so in the image is the 6-hour 9mm pistol. There's one magazine inserted into the firearm. There's also an empty magazine next to the firearm on the right-hand side. In the image, there is not the ATF pamphlet or the cable lock that was sold with the firearm.
And then and I believe 66 is already admitted, and 67? What is this, Special Agent?
This is a picture from Jennifer Crumbley's cell phone taken, I believe, 30 to 40 minutes after I was in around 6:38, 6:40 p.m. on the 26th.
The day the gun was purchased?
Correct. And this is a picture of the Sig Sauer is the bottom pistol with a magazine inserted. The top pistol is the Keltec 22 caliber pistol. And then there are the two Sig Sauer magazines, the ATF pamphlet, and a cable lock with a key inserted and a second key attached.
And this was previously admitted, this cable lock, it's People's 39. Can you testify about whether or not this is similar or the same? Can you tell that?
I would say that it is similar. The exact same words and instructions are on the pamphlet and on the, call that I don't know if it's a sticker that's attached to the bottom by the lock there.
This right here?
Correct, but I've had an opportunity to review the words on both and they do match up.
Okay. And you see the pamphlet in that picture.
Yes,
And Jennifer Crumbley took that photo the day the gun was purchased, and you said around 6:30?
it was between 6:30 and 6:40 p.m., I believe.
Okay, thank you. Did you have the opportunity to review surveillance video from a gun range in Clarkston?
Yes. It shows Jennifer Crumbley and the shooter entering the gun range, paying for range time, targets, and 9mm ammunition, 100 rounds of it, and then they proceed to take turns firing the Sig Sauer pistol.
Okay, so do you recall about the time they arrived there?
It was approximately 1:00 p.m.
Okay. So the receipt is for, you said 100 rounds?
Yes, they bought two 50-round boxes of Patriot Defense 9mm ammunition.
Okay, and so the only firearm that ammunition is for is the shooter's Christmas gift, the SIG?
Yes, out of the firearms in their home, it would only be utilized in that one specific firearm, yes.
Okay, and the previous receipts that we've admitted into evidence that you obtained, is there any record of any purchase of a 9mm ammunition before this day?
Not that I found, no.
Okay, so in terms of the evidence you obtained, this is the first time and only time you saw a purchase of 9mm ammunition?
Correct.
Okay. And who was at the range with the shooter?
Jennifer Crumbley.
Were you looking at the phone evidence and the forensic evidence from the phones able to determine where James Crumbley was that day?
Yes, I believe he was door dashing during the daytime hours that day.
He was a DoorDash driver, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to draw your attention to the actual surveillance video, which is Exhibit 71. We are not going to play the entire video, Your Honor, although the entire video will be admitted into evidence and the jury can view it. We're going to try to focus on the most relevant parts, and then the entire video is in evidence.
You can play the video
Yeah,
if you want.
got it, thank you.
Okay.
What are we looking at, Special Agent?
So that's Jennifer Crumbley had just arrived and placed the Sig Sauer pistol box on the display case there, and the shooter is standing over her shoulder.
Okay, Special Agent, we're gonna fast forward that, you've already identified that gun case as the SIG case and not this no, that it's this one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So at this point, if you know, where is the gun?
So the handgun is in the 6-hour pistol case with the 2 boxes of ammunition sitting on top.
Okay, and Jennifer Crumbley is handling those.
Yes.
Okay. And what are they doing now?
They're putting on ear protection before entering the range.
The previous footage shown of Jennifer Crumbley at the shooting range, do you remember, did she have ear protection on?
Yes.
Special Agent, can you explain to the jury what's happening right now, if you know?
Yeah. Right now, the shooter is loading ammunition into the magazines.
Now, at this point, he had the gun for one day?
Yes, approximately around exactly 24 hours.
Okay. And do you see a lock anywhere in that case or next to the gun or the case?
No.
Special Agent, I do have a question while we're viewing this. Are all of the visits and purchases stored on surveillance in ranges and licensed firearm dealers?
So in this particular gun range, there is surveillance camera equipment. I don't believe it went back past September 25th, which is why there wasn't surveillance video for the previous visits.
Okay. So what's happening right now?
So that is the 6-hour pistol. I'm going to call that the stand, as well as a loaded magazine. And now the shooter is placing a target on the cardboard before sending it back down range.
So just for the record, the shooter's already, were you able to tell how many rounds he shot?
It depends on how full the magazine was, but if he had a full magazine, it would have been 15 rounds once he loaded it in the firearm that he discharged.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what's happening now?
Yeah, so now he brings a new target over for Jennifer Crumbley, and then he affixes it to the cardboard and then sends it down range.
So it seems both of them were struggling at this point as he did before. What are they trying to do? He had the same trouble.
So initially he had trouble inserting the magazine. This is different. He's trying to explain to her how to send the slide forward by pressing sending the slide release and sending it forward to chamber around from the magazine. And that's that action right there.
So Jennifer Crumbley took her turn at firing the SIG. Were you able to tell whether it was just, it seemed like just a few rounds?
Yeah, it was just a few rounds. It was a partially loaded magazine that was inserted into the firearm.
Okay.
So I think they exchanged turns one more time, shooting at the target, and then I believe it's only one more time each, and then they depart from the range.
Okay.
I'm not certain if Jennifer shot more rounds or not. I know the shooter takes another turn this time around. I don't know exactly how many more times Jennifer shoots. So they discard an empty box of 50 rounds of the 9mm ammunition into the trash can, and then exit with only one box of 50 rounds. So when they departed, they only had the 50 round full box of Patriot Defense 9mm ammunition.
Okay. And this is the picture of the target that was posted. You know, was that ever recovered?
Yes, there was targets in the shooter's bedroom. I don't recall exactly if it was Mrs. Crumbley's target or not. I know the shooter's target was one of them, I believe.
So Jennifer Crumbley's carrying the case with the SIG inside of it.
Yes.
And do you see is the shooter carrying anything?
Yes, he has the targets as well as the box of 9mm pistol ammunition.
Was this the last known image of this weapon before it was used to kill the students in Oxford High School?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what this is?
This is an Instagram post by Jennifer Crumbley on the date that they went to the range later that evening. It says, "Took my new SIG out to the range
I
today."
just want to stop you. This is actually.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Whose Instagram post is this?
I'm sorry. This is the shooter's Instagram.
Okay.
It was posted later that evening. Said, "Took my new SIG out to the range today. Definitely need to get used to the new sights. LOL."
What is this?
This is the Instagram post by Jennifer Crumbley of the target with Mom and Sunday testing out his new Christmas present. My first time shooting a 9mm. I hit the bullseye. And this was posted about a minute later than the shooter's Instagram post.
So it's the same text, but 3 different images.
Yes.
Okay. And this, what is this picture of?
So this is the third image. The first was the main target. Then there was a zoom in of the bullseye. And then there was this image, which was of the firearm in the case with 2 pistol magazines and the ATF Youth Handgun Safety Act notice beneath it.
All right. I want to draw your attention to I believe it's previously in the 74, exhibit 74. All right. And if we can zoom in on the drawing of the firearm in that diagram. We've already, tell the jury when you first saw this worksheet.
I first saw this worksheet when I was at Oxford High School on November 30th, 2021, responding to the shooting.
Okay.
It was my understanding that the shooter drew them earlier in the day, and that I saw an image of this worksheet, which is probably the same image. And it was, like I said, during my time responding to the school.
Okay. Special Agent, what, if anything, caught your attention about this drawing?
There were several things, specifically with the firearm. After recovering it and looking at it, inspecting it, it appeared to be the same firearm recovered from that the shooter used to commit the shooting, the Sig Sauer 9mm pistol.
Back on November 30th of 2021, it was not illegal, and it still is not illegal for a minor to touch a gun, correct?
It is not against federal law for a minor to touch a firearm in certain instances. No.
Okay. It is not against the law for a minor to shoot a gun at a gun range. It wasn't then, and it's not illegal now, correct?
It is not against federal law for a minor to go to a gun range to shoot a firearm. No.
Okay. And as far as you know, it's not against state law either, correct?
Yeah, as far as I know, especially from this investigation, I know that it's not against state law. Yes.
Okay. On November 30th of 2021, there also is no law, federal law, that requires certain storage requirements for guns, correct?
Inside of your residence?
Yes.
There is not a federal law that forces anyone to store their firearms in a certain way. No.
And as far as you know, on November 30th of 2021, there also is not a state law that states how a firearm must be stored, correct?
It's my understanding, based on this investigation, that at the time there was not a law governing how to store a firearm in a home. No.
Okay. Now, you testified and talked to this jury about how there are various ways guns can be stored safely, correct?
Yes.
And one of the possible ways is in a gun safe, correct?
Yes.
And the Kel-Tec and Derringer gun, they were in a gun safe in the Crumbley home.
That's correct.
Another way that a gun another way of making a gun safe is with a cable lock, correct?
Yes.
And a cable lock is it almost looks like a bike lock that loops through the gun to make it impossible to shoot when it's locked, correct?
Yes.
And in order to disable or take the cable lock off, you have to have a key, correct?
I would say that's one of the ways to take it off. Yes.
Okay, so that would be the way that most people would take it off, is by using a key that works with that lock, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to go to exhibit, what other guns could create even more damage or even larger holes?
I mean, there's a lot of calibers that are larger than a 9. I don't know that you want me to list them all right now, but there are more calibers that do cause more damage, that do fire a bigger round than a 9mm.
A
if that's what you're asking.
357,
Yes.
a 45,
Yes.
of a 50?
50 caliber?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, approximately how many other kinds of, would you guess, how many other?
I'm not going to guess. I mean, there's a lot of calibers of firearm. There are several that are larger caliber than a 9mm. There's not many that are larger than a 9 as a semi-automatic handgun. There's a few, I would say, not a ton.
Okay, so a 9mm is not the most destructive gun you can buy, but it's a gun that a person can buy.
A 9mm is a gun a person can buy, yes.
Okay. You testified about,
I would hope so, yes.
it does not take getting a pamphlet to know that a gun is a weapon. That's common knowledge, correct?
Yes.
Whether that pamphlet is in the box, on the counter, on the floor, in the car, it's common knowledge that a gun is a serious, dangerous weapon, correct?
Yes, but that's not this pamphlet.
Well, the purpose of this pamphlet is to make sure youths with handgun is especially dangerous, correct?
Yes.
And that also is fairly common sense, correct?
I don't know how to answer that question, being that it's like the #1 cause of death for children, that firearms are the #1 cause of death for kids. So I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, my point is, we know guns are dangerous. We know they're dangerous when youths handle guns. It doesn't change whether it's a youth or an adult, correct?
I think that if they wanted to have a pamphlet that said the Person Safety Act notice, they would have. It says youth for a reason. I think that there's a special category for that. Yes.
He is the one loading those magazines with the ammunition, not Mrs. Crumbley.
No, there was a point at one time when Mrs. Crumbley was putting rounds in, her arm was moving. Obviously the angle's sideways so you can't see, but there was a time when she was loading. I don't think she loaded all the magazines, but I think she did load a few rounds. Yes.
So it's a very fair assumption to say that the shooter was interested in BB guns, target practice, these guns, going to the shooting range.
Yes.
When you testified that the Kel-Tec was in a gun safe at the time law enforcement did the search warrant, correct?
Yes.
And the Derringer.
Yes.
And there was a cable lock that was not on the Kel-Tec gun, correct?
There was a cable lock in the Kel-Tec gun box in the kitchen that was not on the Kel-Tec gun. There were no gun cable locks on either the Derringer or the Kel-Tec inside the safe.
And you have no knowledge of what the combination was at the time that James and Jennifer Crumbley had that safe in the home. All you know is the time you saw the safe, the combination was 000, correct?
I know that the safe was unlocked at the house by law enforcement using the code 000.
You testified, okay, so let's go to some of the exhibits if we can.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to exhibit 52. Okay, so this is the video. I'm just gonna play it, it's 12 seconds. This is exhibit 51. Okay, so this video shows the shooter loading the Kel-Tec.
This one was an empty slide. He just sent the slide forward on this video. Yes.
Okay,
I'm
I'm so
just-
bad with
yeah.
these guns. Yeah, please correct me. So this one is him doing what, sending the slide forward?
Yes. There was no ammunition in the firearm. I don't believe there was even a magazine inserted. He just sent the slide forward in this video. It was like a black leather, looks like a couch or something like that below it.
Okay, and in this video, you have no idea if there are other people around him.
No.
The video is focused on the gun in the shooter's hand, correct?
Yes.
And this video was sent by text over to a friend of the shooters. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we don't see, while we don't see any people in this video, we don't know if Mr. or Mrs. Crumbley were present at the time the shooter is taking this video.
We know that they were in the home at the time, but we don't know exactly where they were in the home. No.
Okay, so we know they're at home at the time the shooter's in the home making this video and sending it to a friend, correct?
Yes.
And as much as, well, this video, him doing this, the shooter doing this, is not illegal, correct?
No.
It's not,
It's not illegal. I mean, I can't say,
I'm not gonna
You
say
know,
it's a
it
good
does.
idea.
right. I don't mean, under federal law, it wouldn't be illegal. You're in your own home, and, I don't know where his parents are at the time either, though. So I can't really comment whether it was legal or not on what he's doing with the firearm.
Okay, right, we don't know. All we have is this little 12-second video with no context, correct?
But I think the context was the text message that says, my dad left his gun out. So it seems odd to send the text message if your dad was around while you filmed it.
Okay.
Or your parents, I should say.
We know dad is in the home at the time this video is made, correct?
Yes, both Jennifer and James, yes.
We know mom is in the home at the time this video is made, correct?
Yes.
This home we're talking about, there will be other, sure.
I'm
Sorry, so we're at the time where we're talking about this video that was sent. Your testimony was that the shooter sent a text that said, my dad left this out. Or I'm sorry, yeah, my dad left it out, correct?
Yes,
It does not say my mom left it out.
it does not.
It specifically says my dad.
Yes.
And at the end, you don't know the shooter,
I don't know the shooter personally.
right?
No,
You don't know the shooter's friend.
no,
You don't know other things the shooter and his friend had been talking about that day, correct?
I've reviewed messages between the shooter and his friend for several days, but I don't understand what you're asking me there.
I'm asking, you don't know whether, when that statement was sent to his friend, you don't know that that's true, that his dad left the gun out, correct? All you can do is read the text.
I know he sent the text, yes.
He sent the text, but you don't know that that's true, correct?
I can say, I know he sent the text. I don't know, I don't know exactly where, yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if anyone knows it's true or not, but he sent the text.
You are aware that teenagers can embellish things?
I don't have any teenagers.
You were a teenager at some point.
Sure. I don't know that I'm specialized in, teenager behavior to
Okay.
testify to that.
You would agree with me it's possible for teenagers to embellish to impress their friends?
I would agree, yeah, that it's possible for teenagers to embellish, I think is a fair statement.
It's possible for them to send messages to friends to try to look cool.
It's possible, yes.
It's possible to try to fit in with other people and capture people, get people's attention, correct?
I think we're getting into an area that I'm not authorized to testify about as a federal agent right now, honestly. And
Yeah, Your Honor, Special Agent Brandon has very defined parameters about what he can testify to. He has Assistant United States Attorney in the courtroom because he can only testify to certain things. So I would just ask that.
I guess I'm not sure what that means, but.
It means he can't testify about teenage behavior. He can't testify about.
Well, some of that is also part of it, right? I guess I take judicial notice that teenagers embellish things just for my own, right? Yeah, you know, they talked about that during jury selection, so he doesn't know. I don't think he was a teenager not long ago himself. So police officers are looking younger and younger.
Okay, so the bottom line is, in terms of what's going on in this shooter's mind, and at this time, the Crumbley son's mind, we just don't know. We're not mind readers, correct?
yes,
And when that video was taken, that's also a short little video clip, correct?
yes.
And that video clip also, we do not know who else was present when that video clip was taken.
Not in the immediate vicinity around him, no. We know that both Jennifer and James were in the residence, though. Yes,
Okay, so James and Jennifer are in the residence when Ethan Crumbley is making this video,
yes,
okay? And we know he made that video, and obviously had it on his phone.
correct.
And we know he sent that video to a friend.
Yes,
And again, we don't really have much more context beyond that, correct?
other than the text message, no.
Well, the text message was from the other,
I think the text message, the videos were sent, and then the text message followed the videos.
I'm sorry, were both of those videos sent at the time when it said my dad left it out?
I think the first video was sent at 9:30, and the second video was sent at like 12:30 a.m. So 4 hours later. But in that chain of text, it's video 9:30, video 12:30, and then the text that said my dad left his gun out, LOL, or
Okay.
something to that effect.
And you checked to make sure that at 9:30 and at 12:30, both parents were at home, correct?
Yes,
And and so he sends these two videos, and there's no response from his friend, correct?
I don't recall if there was a response or not. I know that they were sent. There may have been an exchange, but I just know that they were sent to his friend.
Okay, and then he sends another text saying, my dad left this out, correct?
Yes,
Now, we can agree in the text message, or I'm sorry, in the Instagram post, there's reference that this gun was a gift to the shooter, correct?
yes,
You are not a member of the Crumbley family, correct?
no,
You don't know what the terms of that gift are in terms of whether the shooter was allowed to just possess it and have it at all times, or if there were conditions around and rules around that gift, correct?
no. I just know that it was a gift.
And you don't know if you do not know where that gun was kept, the Sig Sauer was kept prior to the day you're in the house with law enforcement and the open gun case was on the bed, correct? I'm sorry, it's late in the day, so my
Sure.
questions are getting terrible. Let me back up. When you saw the weapon, the actual weapon, the Sig Sauer, you saw it at the school, correct?
Yes,
And when you went to the parents' home, The gun case was out on the bed, correct?
I believe when I got there, it had been moved to the kitchen at that point.
I'm sorry, it was
Yes.
in the
Sure,
kitchen at
but yeah,
that point?
yes.
Okay. And prior to you getting there, you don't know where the gun case had been, where it was moved to, who had moved it and things like that, correct?
I know based on reviewing the search warrant photographs from the scene that are done prior to searching your residence, that it was on the bed and with the empty box of pistol ammunition next to it when those photographs were taken. That's what I know.
You don't know prior to that day or the night before where that gun was stored in the Crumbley's home, correct?
I don't know myself. I don't have knowledge of that. I know that there's been, I don't know how to answer that question, honestly.
Okay, well, you don't know the answer.
As someone that's been involved in this investigation, as one of the officers in charge, I have reviewed multiple different statements and texts about where it was stored. So I don't know how to quite answer that question, because there were various texts and statements about where it was stored from the defendant's messages and statements and things like that. So I don't know how to answer that question. But do I know for certain where it was stored? The answer to that is no.
Okay, you also don't know whether when the gun, the Sig Sauer, was in the Crumbley home, if they had the cable lock on the Sig Sauer gun.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
When the gun was in the Crumbley's home, in the days following James buying the gun, you don't know if the cable lock was on that gun.
I don't know, other than the 26th, the date that they purchased the firearm. I believe they took photos of it around 1:00 p.m. I know that the shooter took a video around shortly after 6:00 p.m. with the firearm, with the cable lock still in the bag, not inserted in the gun. So I know that at least when they got home from the firearm store after the purchase, there were photographs taken. There was no cable lock inserted. I know later that night at 6 p.m., so shortly thereafter, between 6 and 6:40, both the shooter and Mrs. Crumbley took photographs on their phone or photos and videos, and the cable lock wasn't inserted. It was still in the bag. That's all I know. I know that and at those specific times when those pictures are taken, that the cable lock was not used at those times.
Okay, we can agree on that. Beyond that photograph, the day the gun was purchased, past 6:00 that night, you don't know if the cable lock was put on that gun, correct?
I have no evidence whether it was or was not, no.
You also don't know after 6:00 that night where the gun was placed, correct?
For that specific day, I don't personally know where that gun was that night, no.
You also don't know who was responsible for putting that gun away that night, correct?
I don't know how to answer that question. I guess it's, if Mrs. Crumbley is taking a picture of the firearm and she's the only one home, it would be her responsibility to put the firearm away. And if it's Mr. Crumbley, so I don't know how to answer your question. If you want me to answer that, I don't know their conversations about who's responsible for locking it up at night.
Right, so your answer
yes.
is I don't know. You don't know.
Right.
Okay. And so on the 26th, that night, after 6 p.m., after the photo's taken, we can agree, you don't know if the cable lock got put on, you don't know where the gun was stored, and you don't know who was responsible for storing it, correct?
I don't know how to answer your question, because I feel like that
Because you don't know.
I think
it's asked and answered.
I don't know whose responsibility. It could be both parents' responsibility. I don't know how to answer that question.
You weren't there.
Correct. I wasn't there. I don't know who's.
Okay.
But Your Honor, I just want to make record, he does have knowledge of all the other evidence, so I think the struggle here is he
knows what was happening at 6 p.m., but.
No, he's reviewed different statements about,
Oh,
so that's where the struggle is here. He doesn't personally know if those statements are true, but I think that's why, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but.
He has other information.
I'm asking him about his personal knowledge, though. I'm not asking him about things other people said, things, okay? All right, so then we go to the 27th. This is the day after the gun was purchased by Mr. Crumbley, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we've obviously talked about Mrs. Crumbley being at the range with the shooter that day, correct?
Yes,
Okay, that night, when after Mrs. Crumbley was home, you do know that Mrs. Crumbley and her son went back home, correct?
yes,
Okay, you don't have personal knowledge of who took the gun from the car they drove into the home, correct?
that's correct.
You don't know if the gun was even brought into the home when Mrs. Crumbley and the shooter arrived back home after the gun range.
That's correct.
You don't know if after coming home from the gun range, the cable lock was put on the gun.
By who?
You don't,
I don't know that the cable lock was placed on the firearm, but if you're saying it appeared the way that Miss Crumbley or Mrs. Crumbley operated the firearm, it would be very difficult for her to lock the slide to the rear to put the cable lock on.
she appears like she doesn't know what she's doing with the gun, right?
Yes,
Okay. There's no doubt the shooter has a lot more knowledge about this gun than Mrs. Crumbley does.
yes, that's fair.
Okay. And when Mrs. Crumbley is posting, she's posting that it's her first time shooting a 9mm, correct?
Yes, that's what she wrote.
And she's calling it a Mother-Son Day, correct?
Yes,
And you don't know much about this family, but Mother-Son Day implies this is a mother and son spending time together, correct?
that's what the text said. Yes,
It's obvious Mrs. Crumbley's doing something with her son he enjoys, correct?
yes, he was definitely smiling when he was shooting the firearm. Yes,
Okay. And then both Mrs. Crumbley and her son are, comparing targets and talking and interacting with one another, correct?
that's what occurred on the surveillance video. Yes,
And once they got home that night, you have no idea if the cable lock was put on the gun.
I do not know. No.
You don't even know if the gun was brought in the house.
No.
You don't know where the gun was kept that night.
No.
And you don't know where the gun was kept in the following day or day after. You don't have personal knowledge of that, correct?
Yes,
And at the end of the day, I'm sorry, scratch that. In terms of the shooter, you have no awareness of whether the shooter has ever had any kind of safety course.
I found no evidence that he had a safety course. No.
You don't, so there is no evidence that you can say, there's no evidence, but that doesn't mean that didn't happen, correct?
Correct.
And you have no evidence about James, whether or not he's ever had a safety course, correct?
I found no evidence of that. No, but I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, correct.
So you wouldn't know either way.
It's possible he had a safety course. I personally found no evidence of that.
And when you're talking about this drawing, and I'd like to just put the math paper back up. And I apologize, I believe it was exhibit,
75. No, it's 74.
thank you. Okay, so your testimony was, by looking at this math paper, you believe the gun in exhibit 75 looks like the Sig Sauer weapon, correct?
Yes,
And this math paper was drawn after the shooter had already picked out and had his dad purchase the Sig Sauer, and the family already owned that gun, correct?
yes,
And that bullet, you believe, looks like a bullet that would be unique to the Sig Sauer gun.
no, that's not what I said. I just said out of the firearms they own in their home, out of the two calibers, it resembles more of a 9mm than a 22.
Okay, but it's just a bullet, right? We can agree.
You
the
had
drawing-
listed off a lot of calibers earlier. If you ever look at all those rounds, they look vastly different.
All right, so that's a 9mm caliber.
I'm saying it resembles or could resemble a 9mm caliber. It is definitely a round of pistol ammunition that does not look like a 22.
Okay, these are just drawings that we know the shooter drew at school, correct?
They are drawings that the shooter drew at school, yes. I don't know if I would say just.
They're drawings we know he drew at the school.
Yes,
And you have never discussed these drawings with the shooter, correct?
no,
You were not present when the shooter met with the school counselor about this drawing, correct?
no, I was not.
You were not present when the school shooter met with the principal from the school and talked about this drawing, correct?
I was not present.
You were not present when Mrs. Crumbley and her husband met with the shooter at the school about this drawing.
Correct. I did not get to the school that day until after the shooting occurred.
You did not hear the shooter explain why he put these things on this drawing, correct?
Yes, I did not respond until after the shooting occurred.
So you've never had a conversation with him where he explained or talked about what he was doing in this drawing. And you've never seen a video of those conversations, correct?
Yes, I believe I said before, I haven't met the shooter before.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Can you do the redirect before we leave?
I can.
Special Agent Brandon, you were asked some questions about the 9mm and that it isn't the most powerful gun, that there are other guns that could do more damage. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Okay. Would you acknowledge, though, that it's much more difficult to control and fire it quickly and accurately than a .22?
yes, if we're going by the calibers, yeah, 50 caliber would be a lot more difficult to carry around than a 9mm. Yes.
And then, okay. And you were asked a lot about whether or not James or Jennifer, how many times they went to the shooting range, or if Jennifer ever went took them at a different time. You don't really know, though, correct?
No, all I know is the evidence that I found and that was presented today and that I testified to.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a minute. What have you reviewed? Just summarize what you've reviewed.
So I've reviewed surveillance camera video from both the school, the firearms range, Facebook returns for James and Jennifer Crumbley, Instagram returns, the forensic download of 7 cell phones, I believe, belonging to James, Jennifer, and the shooter, the entire case file, other interviews, and things like that. Basically everything related to this case.
Okay, when you say you reviewed the phones, that means all the content that was on the phone, correct?
Yes.
Going back to quite a long time.
Yes.
In fact, some of the cell phone data went back several years.
Yes.
Okay, and on those phones, you also reviewed every video taken by Jennifer Crumbley,
Yes.
correct? Every picture, correct?
Yes.
All of the Facebook messages from the return that she hadn't deleted, you reviewed those, correct?
Yes.
All of the communications between the two, Jennifer and James, correct?
Yes.
Videos that were recorded by her of herself, correct?
Yes.
Videos of the two of them fighting, correct?
Your Honor,
No,
I would
Your Honor,
ask-
let me finish.
this
They-
is
Whoa,
all
whoa, whoa.
leading questions.
Okay. The question was,
Sustain.
you don't know too much about this family, do you? Is that true?
In the context of this investigation, I've learned a lot about the Crumbley family. Based on the way the question was asked, I thought it was more in the lines of, in the same way of asking if I knew the shooter, do I know the Crumbleys? I don't personally know them, but in this investigation, yes, I've had a very detailed look at their life over the last several years, especially the year leading up to the shooting, yes.
Okay. And you were asked about the second video the shooter took of the Caltech.
Yes.
Okay. And you were asked if you knew whether or not someone was a parent, Jennifer Crumbley or James Crumbley was next to him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's just say for a moment, they were. Do you still have any problem with that video?
Objection. His opinion about having a problem with it is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Do you have concerns about safety when you look at that video, regardless of who was next to him?
Yes, based on the height of the table, the direction the firearm was pointed would either have been based on the way the wood grain goes, it would have either been at the neighbor's house or out the front window of the house. And because of the height of the table, potentially, and with the porch, I'm not quite sure if it would be head height or stomach or above, but it would definitely be pointed in a direction where if the firearm was shot, it could travel outside the home.
Okay. You were asked about whose responsibility it was, or did you know, to lock up the weapon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Whose responsibility is it when a firearm, a 9mm, is in your home? Whose responsibility is when you know there's a minor there?
Based on my understanding of the pamphlet that was handed out, I can say that it would not be on the juvenile.
You were asked about that meeting in the counselor's office.
Yeah.
And that you viewed.
Yeah.
And your answer was no, you don't.
Correct. I said I wasn't personally there for what he said about it.
Okay, but you know that the worksheet was shown to Jennifer Crumbley, correct?
Yes.
And you know that the worksheet had the words "help me," correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the worksheet had the words "blood everywhere," correct?
Yes, it did.
Okay, and you know that that worksheet
Your
was
Honor,
both texted.
Objection to leading. This is all leading.
Do you know whether or not Jennifer Crumbley saw that worksheet?
Yes.
All right, and how do you know that?
It was on her cell phone, and she sent it to several people after she received it.
Okay, and do you know that if the worksheet that she was shown had the words "help me," blood everywhere?
It did.
Okay, thank you.
The defense attorney was whining a little bit about all of the evidence and how she was getting confused with the way that the state put it up on the screen and took some stuff out and only put certain stuff up. And to me, I don't think that it was done. It could have been. It was, I guess it was questionable as to how they did it. Was it done that way on purpose? Or are we looking at a defense attorney who just was looking for anything at this point? Every now and then she does bring up a good point, but she does a lot of, I hate to say it because I'm all for power of women, right? But she whines a lot. It may just be her voice. I don't know. There's a lot of people who don't like my voice. So there you go. One important thing that was discussed, though, is I like the way that they let us know about the casings of the guns and how do you lock a gun? Because not everybody knows that. I mean, a lot of people that don't handle guns that don't know this stuff. So I thought that was real important. That was very educational. It did look like they weren't using the proper safety measures on it. They did lean towards the fact that it didn't look like the gun case that they had been given a new unlock code. So that kind of leans towards, I don't know if you call it laziness, because I think there was at one point Ethan admitted that he couldn't get to that gun, but they could have assigned their own code to it because all of them come with the 000 code on it. And that's what they were talking about there. I do think the prosecution did a really good job, though, of, I don't know, maybe it was the witness that did a good job. He really took the questions and went with them, kind of added some spice on there. So that was very interesting. I'm really trying to figure out where the defense attorney was going with some of this. It's like, okay, so you admit to the fact that this is a gun and it can kill people, but it's not the worst gun they could have bought, right? There's guns that could kill people quicker or harder or shoot larger holes in things, right? What the hell is that? That was just stupid. I mean, she would have been better off not saying anything. The other thing she would say is, so the pictures that he was posting on Instagram, you say that they were inside of the home. The parents were home at the time because you had their location. He's like, yeah. She's like, so they could have been right there supervising him as all that's going on. He's playing with a gun inside the home. Whether or not they knew about it, we don't know, but he obviously had access to the gun at any time and point he wanted. So her questioning, a couple times she brought up something good. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I cut out a lot of her questions on this video for you guys because it was her reiterating what was already said and her just saying, okay, but Jennifer wasn't there then, right? Because they talk about when the father took him to the range. Okay. And you're not sure that when this message was sent, that was in fact the truth, because teenagers lie, right? It just, there was a lot there that it was just too much for me to keep in, because it was like, really, this is redundant. So I really appreciate you guys sticking with me today and watching this one. This was a little bit longer than I had planned on doing. I think tomorrow may be the same thing, because we have another police officer coming on that's going to talk about digital stuff, and that's going to take a while. So I'm going to try to keep these broken down as much as I possibly can. I think I turned 4 hours into an hour and a half. I probably need to do better. I'll try to work harder on my trimming skills. Okay. In the meantime, you guys have a blessed weekend, and I will talk to you very soon.